2.
Welcome back. 7:55 is real. We are live on the air here. I'm David O'Brien, Braves writer for The Athletic. I'm with my co-host, Eric O'Flaherty, former Braves reliever. What's up, Eric? How's it going, man?
You got me up early again. I'm good though. Good day.
To explain to the folks, he's out in Washington State, Walla Walla, Washington, to be specific. So, yeah, it's 7:30 out there, huh?
Mm-hmm.
You got little kids, man. Haven't you been up
Yeah.
for hours?
I'm up all night with them. My 3-year-old hops in the bed and starts. I mean, he jumps in between my wife and tries to sleep sideways and starts headbutting me, and he's the other way. He's kicking me in the head. I don't sleep much anymore.
I don't sleep much anymore, but it's not because of that. I just don't sleep much.
Yeah.
So, man, lots of shit's happened in the last few days with the Bravos. So, but the important thing is last night there was crazy stuff last night, considering what had happened the day before in the doubleheader. Historically awful day Sunday for the Braves. As everyone knows, they got one hit in 14 innings, got swept by the Diamondbacks. I mean, you couldn't, if you'd have told me that beforehand, I would not have believed that was possible to get one hit and be outscored 12-0 by the Diamondbacks, to get no hit by Madison Bumgarner. We'll get to that in a second. So from that low point of the season, they bounced back with a really impressive game last night against the Cubs. Granted, against the Cubs pitcher who's struggling, but the interesting aspect of it, one of those crazy things that probably had nothing to do. One had nothing to do with the other, but it made for a good story. Dansby Swanson burning sage before the game. He got sage, which if people aren't aware, is kind of it's a spiritual thing that Native Americans and other tribes, indigenous tribes, and have used for centuries. And then going back to Egyptians and Romans long before that, used it for healing powers. But the Native Americans used it to cleanse places of spirits and all that kind of thing, as well as for health medical reasons. But that's not why Dansby did it. He did it because, well, to cleanse the truest park of evil spirits. And Freddie made sure that he took it to the bats as well. The bats are in a shopping cart behind lock and key, and Freddie made sure he went in there and put the sage on and had smoked those out as well. So, but the Braves came out and had a really productive night and scored 4 runs in the first inning after having one hit the day before in 14 innings. And Dansby and Freddie both hit home runs. So let me ask you though about the burning sage. Do you ever have any in your experience as a player, anything similar to that? Any kind of ritualistic thing anybody had to do?
Yeah. I mean, we used to burn some stuff called sour diesel. That'd get you right, but no, I mean some guys
Sour diesel.
OG Kush, something like that. Take the edge off after a game.
Yeah, that'll
That was a little different routine though, but
yeah, that'll cleanse this place of evil
I
spirits.
mean, if it works, man. I mean, whatever it takes. I mean, sometimes you just need a reason to believe it's going to
Right.
work, but
Right.
better stick with it after the way the bat swung it yesterday.
Lighten up the atmosphere, mental, just a reset. Dansby had a good point. He said it was like Sunday was so bad that it was so bad that it was almost comical, and it was almost
Yeah.
like a reset. It's
Well,
like rather than
Bumgarner coming in with like a 12 ERA and then
an 80 or 8+ ERA, yeah, and it'd been
Yeah.
11 and a half until the start before that,
yeah,
But he had a good point, because if you get beat, 7-2 and 6-3, and you get out hit 18-6, and get swept in the doubleheader, that's one thing. But to get just totally humiliated like they were, then you're like, okay, let's start anew on Monday, and then Dansby brings in that, and it's almost like, all right, forget about yesterday, let's just do our thing. So.
well, that's what baseball does to you too, though, man. Like they'll just
Makes you crazy.
it makes you crazy. You can do every single thing right, get your pitch, barrel it up, put the exact swing you want on it, and line out to the center fielder, or hit into a double play line drive or something like that. And I think you just reach a point as a player where, I don't know what other sport there is like that, where you do everything right you can have guys with the highest exit velocity, or they're crushing the ball and they're hitting 172.
Yeah.
And so that's a part of the game that just makes you go crazy, is when you are doing everything right. As a
Right.
reliever, you can come in and break 3 bats and everybody hates you because you gave up 2 runs. Um, so yeah, the game will just drive you crazy like that, where you're willing to walk around in the outfield burning sage, however stupid it looks. I mean, it's
Yeah, he
like, we
went
just
out to the
gotta,
bullpen. He walked out to
yeah,
the bullpen, took
yeah,
it, and made sure to take it in
yeah.
there.
But we got to try something. I think that it was 2012. We couldn't win on Mondays, and so we just, for whatever reason, we decided to wear our pants up. Go high
Yeah, I
socks.
remember that. I remember.
And the clubbies were pissed because they have some kind of budget, they're trying to stay under with like a uniform budget or something. But we all just pulled our pants up because everybody's wearing long pants. And so they had to order 60 pairs of new pants so we could wear high pants on Monday.
Oh,
And
really? I didn't realize that. That's
yeah,
funny.
it kind of pissed them off, but all of a sudden we started winning on Mondays, and it has nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
We just started playing better, but baseball just make you go crazy when you try anything. I remember one time I came in, it was my first year with the Braves. I came in after the game, got my workout in, and I go in to take a shower, and Martin Prado's in the shower, full uniform. He's still got his hat on. He's got eye black running down his face, and he's still in his cleats. And cleats are slippery in the shower, but he's dead full uni, just drinking a beer, staring at the floor, just full uni. And this was probably
Oh,
it was
that's
45 minutes later, so he'd been standing in the shower in his full uniform, just getting drenched for 45 minutes because the game was just wrecking him at that point.
great.
He'd do that probably once or twice a year, but this was my first time seeing it. I was just like, what is going on?
So did he come out the next day?
I
Go
think he started
3
hitting.
for
Yeah,
4, the homer.
probably.
That's funny, Prado. What about just regular kind of superstitions did you have? I mean, as long as we're talking about this, like stuff like everybody does the never stepping on the line, that kind of thing, jumping across the line. What were some of the things you did, or anybody you knew did, that kind of struck you as a little unusual?
I gave up on him early because I felt like you could almost be held hostage by him. Like,
Yeah.
there's some guys that have so many little things that they have to do right, or they're not going to play well tonight, that it can go wrong. But I used to do, like everything in sets of 3. So if I washed my hands, I had to grab 3 paper towels, and to go through the whole day like that. Or I had to eat this certain thing, or I couldn't shave on game days. And all of a sudden, just to get to the game, for me to feel like I was going to
Yeah.
pitch well that night, I had all this dumb shit I was doing that took up the whole day. It was like, all right, I'm moving on from this. But if you believe in it, man,
Yeah.
if you have any reason to believe you're going to do well tonight, like, that's half the battle. So I don't blame guys that have it.
What was it? Who was it that ate chicken every day? We should know this one.
Wade Boggs.
Yeah, Wade Boggs every day,
Yep.
and then drank 24 beers on the flight from the West Coast.
I mean, that's
I
a
don't
lot
think
to
that was
keep
a
up.
ritual.
That's a lot to keep up too.
Yeah, yeah, that would have landed you in a different place.
Damn it, man. I got 17 left and I'm already tired.
All the little stuff though that guys have, like not stepping on line like it says one, but like Camargo, remember his thing, it jumped across the line. Everyone came on the field that time. And remember, he hurts his knee. He had just started hitting, as a rookie, or it's a rookie year or a second year. I think it was his rookie year. Just started hitting. It was late in the season, and he jumps over the line, twists his knee. He goes on the DL. Man, he's out for a month, and he wasn't the same when he came back.
Yeah. I mean, there's guys that won't wash their socks, won't shower. I mean, it gets pretty extreme, but that's just what baseball does to you, because there's so much out of your control. You start believing in this other force that'll help you. But Dansby walked around with sage yesterday and they rake. So, I mean, you better be out there again today.
Snit said, well, if it worked, Snit said, fuck, I'll grow some. He's like, put it in my soup. I think that's the first time I've ever experienced it.
But they did hit.
I think people ask about why is it in baseball that there's so many of these little rituals and all this. I think the easy answer is you play 162 games. If you've only played 16 games once a week, you don't even have time to think of all these little rituals you're going to have to do pregame. I mean, how you put your uniform on, how baseball, you're doing the same thing every day. So it lends itself to coming up with little rituals, like on the start day or something. You might drive to the ballpark a certain way. You have to go this route. I know guys have done that one.
Well, you
all
just
kinds
get
of things.
desperate too.
Yeah.
I mean, like I'm saying, there's a lot of luck involved in baseball where it's like you finally had a good game and you're just like, shit, what I do yesterday, and you try to go through your whole routine. It's like I ate chicken, I did this,
Yeah.
I put my socks on wrong first, I put the shoe on the wrong foot, some little thing, and then all of a sudden you get 3 hits that night.
Yeah.
I'll try that again.
Or like you're the A's, you went 12, 13 in a row. You're like, I'm not doing anything different than what I've done. If you notice one thing you've done during the streak that's been common or something you've wore every day.
No, and fans do it too. They won't move their
Oh yeah.
seat or stand up if the team's hot. Just different things like that. Kind of gets. I mean, the game just messes with everybody's head.
I got to admit, when I'm watching Kansas play basketball, there's been, especially years where everything's going great and everything. I'll like at halftime or something, if they're getting beat or whatever, and I'm wearing a different hat or Kansas sweatshirt that I haven't worn before, I'll go ahead and change it. I'm like, why am I doing this still?
It's so stupid.
At my age, why am I doing this? I cover sports and I'm totally jaded on sports for the most part. And I'm still like a fan when I'm watching. So I totally understand.
Forever you couldn't talk about a no-hitter while it was going.
Yeah.
And people have kind of gotten over that hump. If an announcer brought up what was happening, they'd have to dance around it or just show the scoreboard. And
you have to now.
Just bring it up. Yeah.
Now you almost have to, because there's so much. Used to, you could get away with that. Announcers could get away with it when they had exclusive rights to the game. A million people weren't tweeting and posting on various internet sites that a no-hitter was going on. So you could get away with it as an announcer, not mention it. But now as an announcer, you almost look like an idiot if you not mention that guy, because everybody's talking about it online and everything.
Well, half the time, if you're scrolling through the box scores, there's a little red box under there that says no hitter. So you got a lot of people tuning in just to see that.
And it pops up on the screen when you're watching another game. It comes across the bottom, or MLB Network drops into it. While it's going, specifically because of no hitter and eighth inning. So yeah. But still, when I do it, if I tweet it, if it's a Braves guy throwing the no hitter and I tweet it or something, people's like, "Oh, way to go, way to jinx it," or whatever,
Yeah. Yep.
On the other hand, if the other team's doing it, I start doing, "Oh, wait," and then the no hitter gets broken up after I do it. So anyway, people are still superstitious. There's no doubt there. But as I say, there are no jinxes. But if it works for you, it works for you. But so. Yeah, you can't come out and burn sage again tonight, because then you can't. I think you have to hold it off for a bad time again. But if they go through another stretch, God forbid they have another day. God forbid you wait to have another day like you did Sunday to do it, because if you ever have another day like that, it was historically bad. That was the first time. Now, granted, these are 7-inning doubleheader games, and normal doubleheaders before last year have been 9-inning. But the Braves had the one hit was the lowest hits total ever for a doubleheader, going back to 1900 when they started keeping track of this stuff.
Yeah, on the way it was going, even if they were 9 innings, I mean, it didn't look like it just was.
I had a feeling. I mean, the way Bumgarner was handling them, that he could have gone 12 innings if the pitch count hadn't been. I think it was up in the high 80s, around 90 or whatever. But they had one layout catch, beautiful catch in center field. And other than that, it was just they weren't hitting.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this team though kind of needed a rock bottom day where it's almost comical how bad things are, and there's nowhere to go but up.
And Zach Gallen really handled them in the first game. Zach Gallen's good, man.
He's good.
He is. That might be one of the better pitchers that nobody talks about when they mention the first, best 10 pitchers. Nobody ever mentions Zach Gallen. He's good.
But he doesn't have that blow you away,
right?
Pitching ninja highlight type of stuff. He just pitches. He makes good pitches. He's got good stuff, but he's not throwing 99 with some crazy sink or anything like that. It's like he's not hitting. Just like a hitter hitting 500-foot homers. That's the highlight, not the guy that's hitting 330 and hitting wall scrapers.
Speaking of our picks, early season, preseason picks. The Cy Young pick of Degrom is looking pretty good right now.
Pretty safe. Yeah.
It's like I said then, man. He's the best pitcher. So until he's not, I'm going to go with him. But my God, what he's doing.
I see Vegas puts the odds on, they do like prop bets for pitchers of strikeouts and things like that. And it's usually over under at like 6.5 or 7.5. And they'll put Degrom at like 10 now with negative 180 odds, and I'm like, that's still a safe bet. He's punching out 12 to 15 every time out.
how he doesn't lose his mind. Thankfully, he doesn't, and wins are not stressed like they used to. Can you imagine if were stressed like they were up until 10 years ago? If this was 20 years ago and he was getting the run support he does, I mean, that would make you lose your mind. Back when pitchers were paid for wins and losses and that kind of thing, because
Yeah, if they mattered. I mean, I
right,
wouldn't
they
lose
don't
my
matter
mind
now.
pitching like that. It'd be pretty fun to pitch like that.
Oh
I
my
mean,
god.
that'd be a pretty good time out there. But
The only comparable in the past going back is Nolan Ryan because he pitched on a lot of bad teams and struck out a ton of guys on some bad teams. But his ERA was nothing like DeGrom's. He gave
I've
up
never seen
runs.
anybody pitch like Degrom's
No.
pitching right now. I told my dad a week or two ago that Degrom's the best pitcher I've ever seen, and he kind of looked at me like, my dad loves history, and he's just thinking I'm being naive about it. But I was like, Dad,
Yeah.
this dude's on another level. Because he's just blowing guys away with his fastball. It's not like he's tricking anybody. He's just too good for him. And I told him that, and he kind of shook his head. But he's watched him pitch the last few times out after I said that, and kind of been like, well, maybe, maybe you're
Hey,
onto something.
hey, even Chris Russo, who is as old school as they
And
come,
yeah,
doesn't give credit to anybody, is backwards when it comes to metrics, analytics, and all that. Loves the old Yankees, the Mickey Mantles, the Joe DiMaggio's, all that, the older Mets. He said DeGrom is to him is now the second best pitcher in Mets history behind Tom Seaver and ahead of Doc Gooden.
yeah,
So
yeah. I heard I think it was Keith Hernandez said that. He's like, not even on Doc's best day was he ever pitching like this.
and Doc was dominant, man.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Doc, I mean, Doc's
Video
period
of
of
him.
his 3 or 4 years that he had, right now he would be
Oh,
the
he'd
second
be
best
elite.
pitcher in
Yeah, he'd
baseball.
be second best. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he was 250 to 300 strikeouts, was it? In
So I wonder what DeGrom's on pace for.
you talk about the abuse, man. You want to talk about an arm abuse? Go back and look at Doc Gooden's innings totals in his first when he was like 20 years old.
Yeah, there's some body abuse going on too.
Oh yeah. On top of that, going out
Yeah.
and doing blow all night and then
Yeah,
coming
it's hard
in
to maintain that. I
300
don't think
innings.
DeGrom's doing any of that.
Nope. Nope. But that makes what Gooden did all the more incredible to know what he was doing off the field. But so the Braves bounced back in a huge way from that doubleheader being swept. Bumgarner credited the shadows afterwards. I think he was being a very humble Bumgarner, that he is, and thanked Rob Manfred for the inning for the being a 7-inning game. Insinuating that he wouldn't have thrown a doubleheader without the shadows in 7 innings. But I mean, the shadows, while they were covering a lot of the field, I didn't think that they were the kind of extreme shadows that you see at some places where there is a sharp line across like the pitcher's mound and he's in the sun and then it starts right. I didn't see those kind of shadows. Maybe I was watching a game and that didn't strike me the way it does in a lot of places.
Well, even if the backdrop, the batter's eye, is in bright sunlight and the pitcher's in darkness, it still makes it hard to pick up that spin coming out of it because you're throwing a dark ball with a bright background. So
right.
I think they definitely, had an effect. And just, like I've said before, he's always got that angle. So if he's throwing strikes on the other half, I saw Acuna get a couple pitches he could have hit, but having never seen Bumgarner before and have not faced him, it takes a few times to see that angle. But I mean, he looked pretty good for himself, I mean, came in with bad numbers, but
well, he had a great start the one before against the Nationals, so that's back to backs. I mean, maybe he's figured something out. I mean, it's the same Bumgarner. You just take a little off the velo,
Yeah.
But
he
otherwise,
never threw like 97, 96. No. He's always been low to mid 90s.
But now he's upper 80s. Yeah, 89, 90. It was. I think he topped out at probably 90, but yeah, nobody else throws it like him. He slings it in there from the side, and it's like
he's coming from first base.
Yeah, and he's like, I don't know how tall he is. I forget, but he looks like he's 6'5" when he's out there slinging it from where he is. So, yeah, there's nobody quite like it. But it's kind of like with Randy Johnson, but Randy was throwing 100.
Yeah,
6'10".
Yeah, that was funny. Bumgarner's interview after the game was just kind of like
that was great.
I guess I'm happy. Yeah. Like he really didn't want to celebrate it.
He didn't even take questions, man. I was like, more
No.
guys should do interviews like that. He put the headphones on and he goes, I'm going to say two things. I want to thank Atlanta for these shadows, and I want to thank Rob Manfred
Yeah.
for 7 inning games. And now I'm going to go celebrate with the guys. He took the
Yeah.
headphones off. That was the interview.
That answers the whole, like for me, I've seen a lot of people arguing over whether it's a legit no-hitter or should be considered a no-hitter. For me, his response answered the question, and him just kind of being like, joking about it, like this is a comical thing,
Right.
because I think just because as a pitcher, how many no-hitters are
Yeah.
lost in the eighth and ninth innings.
Oh,
I
God.
mean,
Yeah.
it's like I feel like you turn on you look through the scores and there's a no-hitter
Yeah.
going in the sixth every other day now. And it's those last two innings, it just takes a blooper or something to blow it. So
I would
I
say
think as
more
a
than
pitcher,
every other day. There's one
yeah,
no through 6 innings.
it feels
Almost
like every
every
day.
day.
Yeah.
Almost
But
every day.
I mean, I think you'd want to earn a real one.
Yeah.
As a pitcher, if I threw one of those, it'd be kind of like throwing a no
Right.
hitter in a rehab game or something. You'd want that real one to really celebrate it.
And it would have meant a lot more to someone other than Bumgarner. A guy who's won,
Yeah.
three, World Series, been World
Yeah.
Series MVP, was a perennial side front runner for about 5 years. I mean, he's done just about all you can do in the game. He hadn't won a side, but
That's a good point.
But he's come close many times on no hitters and hasn't thrown one.
But that's what takes away from it,
I know,
because
he doesn't want that to be the first one.
He's been on that chase and he wants a real one, and he's probably lost one in the eighth inning.
And he's probably in the ninth. He's thrown some
ninth.
games that were a lot better than that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I could kind of see both sides of it. I could see where the argument was, like Freddie said, all I know is we played a full game. He pitched all the innings and he didn't allow any hits. It's a no-hitter to me.
Yeah.
And other people were saying, if you're going to make the games 7 innings, then they have to be no hitters. But like you said, if you go back and look at how many no hitters are lost in the eighth and ninth innings, it is crazy. I mean, that's when it really gets tough.
Nuke had one.
Yeah, Nuke had one till the last out.
Yeah.
Fulte had one too till into the ninth inning at Oakland a few years ago. There's been a lot of them through 7 innings with the Braves in recent years. So, the pitcher doesn't feel the pressure that a guy's feeling in the eighth and ninth inning of a regular no hit. He's not feeling that in the sixth inning. You're not.
No, and that changes everything too.
Yeah.
Feeling that pressure and the mental side of it, keeping calm and keeping making pitches. But I think just as a pitcher, no matter what they call it, Bumgarner's not that fired up about it because he's tried to chase the real thing. I mean, I saw some people say you could call it a 7-inning no hitter and credit it, but even then, it's like, it's only been a year. It's how cool is it to be exclusive member of the 7-inning no hitter club? And I just said, from a pitcher standpoint, it'd be a cool thing, and especially like you said, for a young guy, it'd be something to celebrate if you're a young guy. But for Bumgarner, I'm pretty sure he just felt like he had a good start.
Yeah. I mean, the list of no hitters is so long now because in recent years, there's been so many that, okay, you want to throw it in there and put an asterisk by it, but asterisks start messing up things when you put those in there. And I don't know what you're going to call it, but what it was, he hit the Braves for 7 innings.
No-hitter. And I mean, he'd probably rather throw a 9-inning complete game and feel better about that.
A 9-inning one-hitter. Yeah.
I think that'd feel better than a 7-inning, no.
So they come back last night and they bust out right early. They took advantage of Zach Davies, who's really struggling. That guy in the first inning, they were all over him. There were a couple of good developments. One I thought was Dansby going the other way twice. One with a little single through the infield, but his home run was opposite field. That's a huge sign for Dansby because he has not been doing that enough this year. And we know when he's at his best is when he's wearing out right center, like Freddie does, the left center.
And Ozuna, either time I see hit Dansby and Ozuna driving the ball the other way, it's a sign of good things to come.
And they need some good signs for Ozuna because he has really struggled, man.
Yeah.
I'm surprised it's gone on this long with Ozuna. Maybe bigger surprise of anybody to me is Ozuna to take this long to snap out of it.
What year? I think a couple years ago he had a year like this.
His first year with St. Louis, maybe, or
Yeah.
second year. First year with St. Louis, probably coming off his great year with the Marlins in 2017. I have to go back and look at that. He didn't start great last year at all. He in the first third of the 60-game season, he wasn't doing. Then he went on the home run barrage, but it was nothing like
Yeah.
this year. It wasn't nearly as low average and the strikeouts and all that as this year.
Yeah, 2018 was St. Louis. He hit 280, but he had a 758 OPS. The next year he hit 241 with an 800 OPS. But his years in Miami, he was OPS in 700, 772, 691, 773.
Until
Then he had a
his
big year with
huge
Miami.
year that got him
Yeah.
the contract with
Yep.
Cardinals.
But it's the same thing with him. Like when you see him just looking, it seems like he's looking to pull everything to left field right now,
Yeah,
and not covering that outer half. When I see him driving the ball the other way is usually when he gets really difficult to pitch to.
yeah. I thought the negative of the doubleheader, besides the offensive futilities, was Drew Smiley.
Yeah.
I wrote Don Smiley on my notes here. Don Smiley used to be the president of the Marlins when I covered them back in the 90s. Drew Smiley. Drew Smiley pitching for the first time in 14 days after a stint on the IL for forearm inflammation. I don't know if the minor leagues had been going AAA. If he'd have gone down and had a rehab start, you got to think he would have when he's on the IL for 2 weeks. But he looked like a guy who definitely needed to have made a rehab start or two, or at least gone down to the alt site and pitched in a couple of inter squad games because he looked really rusty in that first inning. Came out. But
First pitch
bigger
of the game, homer.
But bigger issue is the guy just hasn't pitched well this year. I mean, he has not looked like the guy that struck out 14.4 per 9 innings last year. But he only did that in 26, 27 innings last year. He had he was healthy for 3 or 4 weeks of a 60-game season last year. And basically the Braves took a gamble on him, $11 million. And right now it's very early, plenty of time for him to earn it. But right now it looks like it was a bad investment.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue with that right now. I think, he's got plenty of time to turn it around. I think anytime a pitcher's dealing with forearm stuff, though, it's going to affect their breaking ball, and that's his bread and butter. I saw him hanging it a lot, or you see a guy hanging breaking balls or scudding them in the dirt. They don't have that feel for it yet, and he doesn't have an overpowering fastball. So last year when he was striking everybody out, he was living off that breaking ball, and it was elite. So if you go from having an elite breaking ball to just an okay one, what do you got to throw at him?
Yeah. His spin rate last year was what everybody's talking about on the curveball, on the cutter. He was throwing a lot of cutters last year, a lot of them, and even on the fastball, he had a huge spin rate. And so far this year, he's just looked normal out there at best. But
you start seeing lefties tee off on him, that tells me that the breaking stuff is just not sharp. I mean, righties against lefties, and they're hitting you hard. You might just be missing locations, but when lefties are just digging in like that ball Peralta hit, your stuff's not there. Because you should at least be able to make lefties uncomfortable.
Did you ever have forearm stuff like that
from day one? But
forearm?
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's if you're throwing a ton of breaking balls, it's all that flex, all those flexor muscles. When that stuff's acting up, you're just gonna baby it or not finish it, or if you're tight in there, I mean, and that's the thing about baseball is if you're just a little bit off, like you're seeing with Ozuna, you're seeing with Smiley, if you're just a little bit off in baseball, you can go from an elite player to just a AAA guy in a blink of an eye.
Yeah. And the forearm thing can lead to other stuff if you try to compensate or whatever, right?
Try to baby it, you start beating up your shoulder. I mean, if he's out there pitching, he's got to be feeling at least decent enough. But you never know when guys sign. He got $11 million. He's probably feeling that pressure to get out there and pitch. He might not be ready.
Yeah, he's 31, so he's pitching for another big contract. He would hope, I guess. He's not going to get it right now, the way he's going, but he's got a 7.20 ERA in 3 starts. He's already minus 0.5 B WAR if you want to go analytic on it, which means he's been worth a half game less than a typical replacement player. I don't know if you want to call that a guy called up from AAA or whatever, but that's been pretty bad because pitchers, can pile up good WAR in a hurry if they're pitching well. He's got 15 strikeouts with 3 walks in 15 innings. which is, by the way, exactly his career strikeout rate, 9 per 9 innings. Last year was the outlier, big time. He had like, I think his previous high is just over 10. So he went up by 4 last year. But so he's got 15 Ks, 3 walks, and 15 innings. That's great. That's fine. But he's allowed 15 hits, including 6 homers in 15 innings. So
I mean, you got to get to the bottom of it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not always a clean answer for it, and sometimes things just turn around. But right now, man, I'm sure he's feeling the pressure.
We talked about how that was, to me, the only thing in the offseason.
Yeah.
With Alex, with his lesser budget, that was, to me, the only kind of head scratcher was why. And I think the budget was probably, he thought it was going to be higher, maybe the payroll, when he signed him and Charlie early, and because I don't think he would have signed both. Charlie he's pitching like himself. I mean, he looks fine.
Yeah,
he
just seems to have one bad inning, but
one
when
bad
you
inning
watch him, it's convincing that he's still got it.
The stuff's there, as good as ever. But Smiley, you're thinking, man, what they could have done with that 11 million if you'd known, because that was one of the few spots on your team where you had some depth. I know they were scared and wanted more depth after last year's disaster with so many pitchers going down or just pitching poorly, whatever. So they wanted to have more depth than they needed, But to think what you could have done with the bullpen with that $11 million, man, because
throwing 3 of it at Melanson, might feel pretty good right now.
I mean, you're looking at Melanson signed for a guaranteed $3 million with San Diego. That includes the buyout of a 2022 option, right?
Mm-hmm.
You get $2 million this year. O'Day signed for about $2.5 million, including the buyout of an option with the Yankees. $5.5 million for those guys total. And Shane Green hasn't signed yet, the other free agent from that Braves bullpen. Okay, listen, I know it's early and it's easy to say, 2020 and all that, but Melanson has a 0.82 ERA, majors leading 8 saves and 8 chances for the Padres. I remember when they signed him, we didn't even know if he was going to close for them. We're like, whether they're getting him for a setup guy or whatever, backup closer. He's their closer. 11 strikeouts and 1 walk in 11 innings. And again, that's not a guy that in this day and age where all these guys are coming in throwing 100, throwing 90. He's not doing that. But
he pumps strikes and he's got a good curveball and he's got the mindset. I mean, he's a closer.
Yeah.
You see plenty of guys with closer stuff that go out and things continually fall apart on them. For whatever reason, certain guys have this closer mindset. They rise to the occasion and they're better under pressure. And he's one of those guys.
He's got big balls, man. He is aggressive and he can that breaking ball just falls off the table. It's unhittable when he's throwing it. When he gets ahead in the count, he puts guys away.
Yep.
He doesn't mess around. He's got 11 strikeouts, 1 walk in 11 innings. Darren O'Day, who a lot of people wrote off 2 years ago because he was hurt that entire year with the Braves. That second year he was with them after they traded for him. He's got a 2.25 ERA. What he's doing is great because that guy's such a good dude, man.
Yeah.
And to see him have this at late in his career, and he's the perfect mindset. He can go and pitch for the Yankees, and it's not going to bother him at all. He's got a 2.25 ERA and a 1.00 WHIP in 9 appearances with the Yankees. 9 strikeouts, and again, 1 walk in 8 innings. Yeah. I know they're using him probably right for matchups and all that, but those strikeouts and walks, especially the walks totals, have got to be looking for Braves fans right now are going, oh man, to have that, the no walks.
Well, the walks are the problem for me because if you look at the batting average against the relievers, I mean, just say it's an average of 200.
Yeah.
When a guy comes up, that means they got less than a 1 in 4 chance, or they got a 1 in 5 chance of getting a hit. When you walk them, that could have been, that's 4 out of 5 times you're getting that guy out. And when you give them that free pass, they're just on. And then those numbers continue. And you're looking at it's eventually somebody's going to get a knock or something. And it seems like the free passes just keep coming back to bite them.
Yeah. Lead off walks. Oh,
lead off walk or, I mean, like Matzik, he seems unhittable. I know he gave up a homer to Contreras last night, but his fastball, that was a bomb. It wasn't as far as they said, but
no. And this just said 491 feet. People were howling on Twitter going, what?
Yeah. I was trying to figure it out too. I was like, Acuna hits a ball there every other day.
Right, because it landed in the seats, like halfway up the
15
bleachers.
rows up. How's that
Yeah.
491?
Yeah. I think they still overestimated at 456.
Yeah. But, he gave up that hit on the homer yet on the fastball yesterday, but for the most part, guys aren't catching up to his heater. And the only thing that's going to hurt a guy that's got that overpowering stuff is the walks, and then you give up a cheap hit here and there.
Yeah.
But that's been the big thing, man. It's just you see guys coming in, and whether it's a lack of aggression or just not being able to find it, you almost have to have that mindset from the top down of watching a guy like Melanson throwing 92 and going at guys, and it filters down.
Braves bullpen has a 4.32 ERA. That's 11th in the majors. Not terrible, not bad. But they have a 1.47 WHIP.
Mm-hmm.
That's 1.5 base runners per inning.
And they all got incredible stuff.
And that ranks 27th in the majors, that WHIP. Okay. And what you were talking about, they have a lot of the reason for that. 44 walks in 77 innings. Only 3 teams have more walks from relievers, and all of them have pitched more than the Braves bullpen, including one of them was 90 innings from relievers. One of the teams is more. So it's pretty simple stuff, man. When you look at it. All right,
yeah,
we got to pay some bills real quick. We're going to cut to Cam for some ads.
Yeah, today's episode of 755 Israel is brought to you by the SoFi Daily Podcast. Did you guys know that 37% of Americans would struggle to cover an unexpected $400 expense? April is National Financial Literacy Month, which means it's time to expand your financial knowledge. And that all starts with having the right information. For facts, analysis, and updates related to markets and financial awareness, listen to the SoFi Daily Podcast every weekday. Search for SoFi wherever you get your podcasts. And let's not forget our friends here at LinkedIn. Small businesses have always shown an incredible ability to adapt, innovate, and survive, even more so this past year. Now, another way you can adapt and grow is by finding the right people to help you grow your business. LinkedIn Jobs helps you do that for free. Get started by posting your job for free to reach LinkedIn's network of 740 million professionals. Fill out targeted screening questions to get your role in front of the most qualified candidates with the experience, skills, and motivation you need. Then, with simple filtering and management tools, you can easily review, rate, and hone in on your top candidates. LinkedIn Jobs can help you hire the right person for your role. And your first job posted is free. Just visit linkedin.com/real, REAL. Again, that's linkedin.com/real to post your first job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
All right. Good stuff from producer Cam there. Hey, Chris Bryant, his third inning grand slam last night. One of these oddities, it's when it's so early in small sample size, but it made the Cubs major league best 6 for 10 with the bases loaded, 600 average, 2 home runs. They got 2 grand slams already this year. The other was by Javier Baez. Contrast that to the Braves. So Dansby had the bases loaded pop out last night in the 4th inning. That made the Braves 3 for 18 with the bases loaded. That's the 4th lowest average, 167 in the majors. I mean, I know it's like not a lot, small sample size, but still, man, the difference in going 6 for 10 in those situations and 3 for 18, that's a lot of runs driven in.
I think that's the difference, though, that, just in general, you see with this team versus last year. They just seem to always get that big hit, always capitalize on those situations.
Last year,
yeah. I mean, and with the bullpen scuffle, and the bullpen's not been bad. There's just been some games that you want to put the other team away. It's just like everything's not syncing up at the right time. But I think that'll all change, especially
when you get Chris Martin back.
And the big hits, I think that those will come around, but they haven't been there with, Zuna struggling. Dansby hasn't been himself yet. Those are guys that were getting those big knocks last year.
And Darno was the best with runners in scoring position, was great last year. Him and Freddie, of course. Freddie's getting walked when he's up with runners in scoring position most of the time this year because Ozuna's not making them pay. And Darno doesn't have many big hits at all yet. So there's a lot of guys that you have hit before, and there's no reason to think they're not going to hit. They will.
Yeah.
And
I don't think anybody's worried about the offense. They're just too good. It's going to be
right.
there.
I think the bullpen, the only concern is can you keep him healthy? Because Chris Martin, he's he's probably your best reliever. You know, I know Will Smith's pitching really well right now, but Martin is probably your best reliever, and he's had issues, man. Little nagging things here and there. Kept him out of postseason. If you could keep him healthy the rest of the way, he's close to getting back. He's pitching off the mound several times now. He's supposed to face hitters next couple of days, and then he'll be back without even going to the alt sites. Snit said so. It wouldn't surprise me if they had him by the end of this homestand. If not, then next week. That'll be big. And the other one is Newcomb. Like we've talked about, he's on the COVID list, and there's no updates on him yet. But the fact that he's been out now for a week and a half tells me he must have tested positive, not just been exposed. But I don't know because they're not providing updates. They haven't even said why he's on the IL. Just know it's COVID because somebody told me, and the fact that it's not counting against the 40-man is the obvious sign. So,
yeah.
But that's two guys right there, and this bullpen's not deep enough to cover without them, without running into problems, because you got to use the same guys, same three guys every day that you have a chance.
Yeah, I mean, and if you asked me, that there's reason to believe that this bullpen could be pretty damn dominant after watching them last year, even without the two guys that left or three. But the thing is, and I heard Glavin talking about it yesterday, that it's not the same track record. I mean, one good season, two good seasons, here and there, versus when you have veteran guys that when they have a bad season, it's still pretty decent. Bad for their standards, but it's still respectable. With young guys, man, I mean, you could have a 2 ERA 1 year and a 7 the next. And I think that was kind of the gamble, was that I think you had to get those answers, though. You had to see what Webb had in the tank if you put him in a bigger role.
Yeah.
He hasn't been quite the same. Matzik looked pretty damn dominant all year last year. There was guys that there was a lot of reason to believe that you weren't going to take a big hit letting other guys go, but it just hasn't worked out so far.
They it's not just the bullpen. I mean, the ERA of the starting rotation, which we thought was going to be such a big team strength, and obviously Soroka, couple of concerns. Soroka has not started throwing again yet. I think it's the Braves being cautious, and they said they were shutting him down for 2 weeks when his shoulder got inflamed at the end of spring training. He was at the very end of his rehab from Achilles. He was probably a few weeks away from joining the team. Would have been with the team by now, but he got that shoulder inflammation. So they shut him down for what they said was a period of 2 weeks. Then they reevaluate. He hasn't started throwing yet. It's been 3 weeks now, almost 3 weeks. Let's see, it was a 6. Today's the 3-week mark. Actually, he hasn't resumed throwing yet. Again, I think they're being cautious. So you probably feel good about the fact they're not rushing him back. But the fact he hasn't thrown for 3 weeks tells me they'll be lucky to have him by June at the earliest, or early June. You might be looking at towards the All-Star break. And then Max Fried obviously wasn't pitching well at all. And then he gets hurt that might be a good time for him to reset, but he'll be facing hitters later this week. And then he could be activated next week for the Blue Jays series. So he's close to returning, and they got to just really hope that Max is back to pitching like himself rather than he did in a couple starts before he got hurt.
Yeah, I feel good about Max just because he's been almost every time he's been healthy, he's been good. I mean, he's never struggled like this, and it's, I saw him kind of look like he was flying open, maybe showing the ball a little bit. And like I've said before, one little thing can really make a big difference. So he'll have some time to kind of correct that all, but they definitely need him.
That's what I was going to say. That's what I was going to say. This time gives him, because he's got all this time to look at video and realize and understand exactly what he was doing. Right. I mean, this could be a good opportunity for him to work on that.
And he's going to throw to teammates. You know, you throw to teammates, they'll come up to you afterward and be like, dude, I saw your breaking ball right out of your hand.
Yeah.
Or this pitch is really, really nasty, but your curveball was kind of loopy. You don't get that feedback. You can only see so much on video, but when someone gets in the box against you, they can give you some feedback that, the other team's not going to tell you that.
Yeah.
Especially if he was tipping or something like that, you can look that up. But when you got some really experienced hitters on your team, they can get in the box and really give you honest feedback that you might need.
And you noticed him flying open. And also I heard, I think it was Glav said it.
I think Bird said it.
Bird said
Glav too. Yeah. I think they both brought it up.
Well, whoever said that, if they saw it, if you saw it, obviously when he looks at video and all this downtime that he's had, he's going to see it. And so is the pitching coach, So this is something he's going to fix and get back to what he was doing last year, as long as health wasn't the reason why it was what was happening.
I mean, his velo wasn't down,
No,
there's
not at
nothing
all.
really too alarming about it. And he didn't hurt his arm, he hurt his hamstring. So
Because this is just not the pitching staff that you expect and that I think we'll see over the course of the season. But their ERA went to 4.89 after last night. They won, but it was 8-7. That's the worst in the National League. And get this, their 5.75 home ERA is the highest in the majors. It's higher than Colorado's, dude. And that's not a big hitter's ballpark.
no, it's hard to pull
A
off.
fair park. Their starters. Problem is the walks, like we talked about, especially with the bullpen. The starters have given up 25 homers in 110 innings. That's the most in the majors. 25 homers.
Yeah, I mean, it could be something, with the catchers too. Just different. It might be a place to kind of analyze Tyler Flowers' value.
I
and
think
what
they're
he was
missing
bringing
it.
to the table. I mean, certain catchers. David Ross used to do this thing when I threw to him. I'd miss arm side. He'd call arm side fastball and I'd miss. He'd call slider and I'd hang it. And he'd call not necessarily the right pitch. He'd call a fastball in, but he'd call that to get me back on track because he was analyzing my mechanics from his vantage point. And he'd say, every time I call a fastball in from you, everything plays off of that so much better. So sometimes I'm going to call this, and even though it's not the right pitch, I know it's going to play out for the rest of your outing. And so there's little stuff like that Flowers could have been contributing that's not there this year either.
He's there helping. I'm talking in the pregame, in the meetings, analytics, and all that. But he's not behind the dish catching, half the games
back there. Yeah,
right.
And seeing what's coming out of the pitcher's hand.
And Darno's catching, 4 out of 5 games.
He did last year.
And last year they pretty much split him.
Split him, yeah.
Darno's catching 4 out of 5, and Alex Jackson, a rookie, is catching the others. And it's pitched great to Alex Jackson. So that's where he's had, so I'm not going to blame anything on Alex Jackson. I don't know. Maybe it's Darno's. I don't want to draw any conclusions, but Drew Smiley's the big problem with the home runs. Like I said, he's given up a ton of them, but all the guys have given up home runs, really.
Yeah.
Except for Enoa. I think he gave up.
Had that one bad start.
One bad start. Yeah. 3 really good ones, great ones. So, but you want to get some perspective on that 25 homers in 110 innings. The Mets starters have allowed 6 homers in 93 and a third innings, and Degrom's not pitching every game. They got
some good pitchers though.
They do. And they're going to get Thor back here pretty soon, right?
Yeah.
Syndergaard. Their 2.70 ERA for their starters, the Mets, is about half of the Braves' 5.29 ERA for starters, which is the second highest in the majors, by the way, behind the Angels, 5.33. So I think it's 2 ways of looking at all these, the negative stats. These are all things that the Braves are going to get better at.
Yeah.
I mean, they should get a lot better at, but we know the offense is going to get a whole lot better than it is right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I look at it. It's almost, if you're just getting your ass kicked and everybody seemed to be playing up to their potential, then you'd be like, maybe this team's not that good.
Yeah.
But you know what they're capable of. And when it seems like everything's working against them, they can't get it all going at the same time. When the offense is hot, maybe the starter struggles or the bullpen struggles.
Yeah.
And vice versa. When they pitch well, they don't score. But I just, when you look at the team, it's not that alarming for me. It's almost a good sign when you're playing this bad and everything seems to be going wrong and you're still pretty damn competitive, only a few games back.
Yeah. That's the thing. Bottom line, look at the standings. Nobody's running away with this thing at all. The Braves are right there. The Braves are a good series away from being, right there in the lead, I mean, if they sweep somebody, then that's how fast it could turn.
Game and a half back. I mean,
a game and a half back.
Yeah.
And they could not have played much worse than they have.
No.
So
I almost feel bad if you were a couple games up right now and you were playing like this, you'd be like, man, you feel like everybody's chasing you. But when you're playing this bad and you're still in it, it's really, it's almost a good sign for me.
Or if you're a team leading and you're reading all this stuff about how bad the Braves are playing, and you look there, you go, we're only a game and a half ahead of them.
And they're playing like ass. They're not even close to what they can do. I think that's just what you got to remember in all this.
in not one area of their team are they playing as well as they expect to play. That's the
No,
thing.
they're like 60% right now in their game and a half back.
I think we got one more ad before we're done here, before we wrap it up here. Cam, you got something else for us? Producer
Yeah,
Cam, ready?
Yeah, I wanted to bring this one up first because you raved about Magic Spoon, and I want to go through the talking points real quick,
Oh,
and
that
then have
cereal's good, man.
yeah, and you talk about Magic Spoon. You were telling us about the cocoa one or something like that the other day that you were like raving over. But real quick, growing
No,
up,
it's the peanut
cereal
butter. The peanut
was it the
butter.
peanut butter?
It's
Okay,
like those and the cereal that I tried to compare it to. You guys didn't know what I was talking about. You said peanut butter Captain Crunch. No, it's the for those of a certain age, you remember the cereal Kix. I think they're still made, but Kix, Kix. They had a peanut butter Kix. That's what the Magic Spoon thing tastes like. Only it's healthy, and Kix are not.
Eric was the one who identified it. I thought the other day when we were talking about it because I had said peanut butter crunch, but that wasn't it.
And it wasn't Captain Crunch.
Just don't
Yeah,
get my
It was a Captain
talk
Crunch.
about keto.
Yeah.
Ex-wife's a keto freak, so he didn't want to hear about the Magic Spoon
Yeah.
keto.
So really, this is a campaign to get the keto cereal in Eric's house. This is just an elaborate ploy to do
Good
so.
stuff. Good stuff.
Listen, we've been drinking protein shake and powders for years, but finally we found a delicious way to get our protein before and after workouts. And that is with Magic Spoon. It has amazing flavors you love, but without all the bad stuff. Guess what? 0 grams of sugar, 13 to 14 grams of protein, and only 4 net grams of carbs in each serving. Only 140 calories per serving. It's keto friendly, Eric, gluten free, grain free, soy free, low carb, and GMO free. And it reminds David of the Kick cereal, which is great. If you go to magicspoon.com/755 to grab a variety pack and try it today. And be sure to use our promo code 755. Oh, excuse me. No, promo code is real. I beg your pardon. So if you go to magicspoon.com/real, REAL, you can grab a variety pack and try it today. And be sure to use our promo code real to check out and save $5 off your order. And Magic Spoon is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 100% happiness guarantee. So if you don't like it for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember, get your next delicious bowl of guilt-free cereal at magicspoon.com/real and use the promo code REAL to save $5 off. And thank you, Magic Spoon, for sponsoring this episode. And before we wrap up with the ads, look, no one's perfect. Even the best baseball players strike out with the bases loaded. The best golfers sometimes three-putt with the tournament on the line. So if you feel like you come up short in the bedroom, it's perfectly okay. But if it's bothering you, there are options. Go to getroman.com/755 now. With Roman, you get a free online evaluation and ongoing care for ED, all from the comfort and privacy of your home. Take care of your ED without leaving home. Complete an online visit today to connect with a doctor and take care of it. Go to getroman.com/755 now to get $15 off your first month. Look, there's no straightforward way to take care of your ED except by going to getroman.com/755. Get started now to save $15 off your first month of monthly treatments.
Send me a free sample of that. We give that a spin.
All
Got
right.
a great voice.
Yeah. ED. Let's see. When I read those, I usually don't have any flubs, though. I usually clean, man. One shot, boom, right out of the park. But
Okay, thanks for the slight. Why don't you just finish up the show, David?
I think I'm a trained professional. Morton Trent. We referred to Charlie Morton. Dude, his stuff has been filthy. I didn't realize he still had this kind of stuff.
No,
to be honest,
not going
I
anywhere.
didn't see him a lot pitching for Tampa other than postseason. But I mean, my God, this guy's in his mid-late 30s and 37, and he's still got nasty stuff. But 3 innings of his 5 starts have screwed up his ERA entirely this year. He gave up 4 of the 5 runs that he allowed.
Grand Slam.
Came last night in 1 inning on the Chris Bryant Grand Slam. That is continuing his trend. He gave up 3 runs in the 5th inning of the Braves' second game of the season at Philadelphia. And he gave up 4 runs in the 3rd inning of his April 14th start against the Marlins. Now the Chris Bryant Grand Slam. Okay, so in the other 25 and a third innings of his 5 starts,
Yeah,
he's given up 4 earned runs, 1.42 ERA. I know you can't toss out the bad innings, but it's only 3 in 5 starts. So this guy's dealing. He's pitching exactly how they hoped, except for those bad innings.
That's why I feel good about him every time out. I mean, it's not like he gives up one every inning or something like that. I mean, when he's on, he looks dominant. He looks like an ace, and he's had that stuff since day one. I mean, he had that stuff in Atlanta. It was just a matter of figuring out, the competitive, the mindset behind it. But he's probably been the guy I feel best about every time out. And you need a stopper or something like that. He had that bad inning yesterday, but he looked like he was going to win that game the whole time.
So you guys think he keeps pitching like this? Cuts down the bad innings, obviously, but if they get freed back to what he's supposed to do, and then you get Soroka healthy, this still could be the rotation everybody expected to be, because Enola is far surpassing expectations.
Yeah.
Right. The other day when Bryce Wilson came in, I thought he pitched well. He had one rough inning, but again, the damage control, which he didn't have until last year at the end of the year, that thing he figured out that Kyle Wright's still trying to figure out that damage control. Bryce Wilson has figured that out. The inning doesn't come unraveled and become a 4-run inning against Bryce. So you got to feel good about him in the 5th spot. And Ian Anderson, after starting out slow, has pitched great. He's pitching great now. And he goes again tonight for the Braves. And you got to feel really good about what he's done last couple of times out. So I could see it becoming a really formidable rotation again in a hurry. If you get freed back from the IL and he pitches like you expect him to pitch. Yeah. Not even counting on Soroka yet. Just
you
with
get
those
to a
other
point
guys.
where Charlie's your number 4 or number 3, you're looking pretty good.
Yeah. Smiley's the only guy that I'm not confident, about his for the long term this year, but we'll see. As long as he stays healthy, you got to think he's going to pitch better than he has, but you got enough depth there that it shouldn't kill you. What he's doing, especially when you get Soroka back. So
it only takes 1 or 2 good starts though to change your mind.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, I think he just hasn't had every start's been kind of sketchy. I mean, if he has 1 or 2 good ones where he just looks pretty decent, I think you feel a lot better about it. It's just right now it hasn't been there.
And he's had a couple of stretches for like 2 or 3 innings where he's been totally dominant. So it's there. It's not like he's throwing 88, with no curveball.
Yeah, I mean, even against the D-backs, I mean, they had 6 runs in the first couple innings, and he still, kept going out there slinging it. I liked what I saw out of Wilson. I mean, he gave up a home run to Vogt on a fastball.
Yeah.
Kept chucking him in there. He didn't shy away from it, which is, that's a big step too.
And the starters just need to get deep again. They start going like, Charlie's been, going 6, but the other guys haven't. Ian Anderson's now building up. He went 7 the other night. That was huge. So if they can start getting 6 or 7 out of the starters, all of a sudden your bullpen is fine for this. You got enough guys you can pitch. You cover 2 or 3 innings a night. You just can't cover 4 or 5 a night.
Well, and the thing about that too is when you have relievers that are scuffling a little bit, they need those layup outings where you come in the 6th and there's 2 out and a runner on first, and you just punch out some dipshit lefty, go in the dugout, get your high fives, and then you got an outing to kind of ride and feel good about. These guys are having to come in before they're used
Every
to,
game.
Early on with a lot of, just chaos going on in the bases. They haven't had those easy layup outings they need to really get going. And I think that was part of the logic behind not bringing those guys back too, was just that you were expecting your rotation to be so good. You didn't think you were going to need to be 6 or 7 deep down there in the pen.
Yeah, I don't think Mentor or Matzik has came into a game this year that wasn't a 1-run game and or had 1 or 2 base runners on, especially with Mentor coming in with 2 on base all the time. I mean, every inning they've pitched has been high stress, high level.
It's nice to have some room for error once in a while. And then part of that's the walks too, is, if you got a 1-run lead, you're trying not to give up that solo shot that ties it. If they can come in a 4 or 5-run lead with an out already, given to them, that's how you can kind of just have a quick, easy one to kind of get your momentum going in the right direction. But that hasn't been there with the starters not quite doing what you expected.
And I tell you what, if you're a veteran, if you're a pitcher, and especially if you're a veteran, you got to love having Brian Snitker as your manager, because this guy has more patience and gives you more opportunities. Because Nate Jones, a lot of guys after his first couple of outings would have said, okay, that's it. He was a non-roster invitee for a reason. He's no more unless we're in a blowout. He keeps throwing him out there in these totally, nail-biting situations where there's no room for error. And to Nate Jones' credit, he's come through a couple of times now.
Yeah.
Where I would have given up on him. I didn't think,
Yeah.
and Snit will run the guy out there and go, I believe in this guy.
That's the worst. Kelly Johnson used to talk about that all the time with Bobby.
Yeah.
Kelly started off his career 0 for 20 something, and Bobby just told him, "You're my guy. You're going to keep going out there." And that
rookie,
took the edge off. The worst thing a manager can do, especially with a bullpen, is every time you pitch bad, you go to the back of that,
right,
conga line, where it's like that adds so much pressure of, if I pitch bad, I might not pitch for a week. That's something that people think Snit's crazy sometimes.
Yeah,
bringing these guys in, but he's bringing them in because he needs them going.
He's looking at the big picture. He's
going to give them every shot. A lot of managers, you pitch bad for them, and you just stashed away until it's a blowout. And you come and pitch in a blowout, and anything can happen. Guys are swinging for the fences. You have a bad game. But yeah, those layup outings haven't been there. But credit to Snip for understanding the mental side of it and keep giving guys opportunities to get going.
And he keeps running Jacob Webb out there in tough innings too.
Yeah.
No easy.
Yeah.
I think he realizes this is what we've got.
Mm-hmm.
And, Craig Kimbrell's not walking through that door, or, fill in the blanks, not walking through that door. Shane Green probably is not walking through that door. It appears.
Maybe.
I think he realizes that at least until you get closer to the trade deadline, Alex isn't going to be able to do magic and bring in, some guys like he did 2 years ago. When they get to the trade deadline, you can, but teams aren't giving up good relievers right now. Shane Green is the only possibility out there right now. And obviously his price is still too high. So
if he's watching the games too, he's not going to come down on his price, because you feel like your stock's going up the more the team needs you.
So Snit knows he's got to mold these guys into the unit that they need for the long run. So yeah, to his credit, he's willing to, he's comfortable enough in his position to not worry about, this guy giving it up for the second or third straight time. He's going to stick with him.
He's willing to look bad, to get him going. And that's the hardest part about, managing a bullpen, is you're going to get destroyed when you bring certain guys in that keep giving it up. As far as the fan base and everything goes, people are like, what are you doing? Why do you keep bringing this guy in?
Yeah.
It? And, at some point you do have to cut the cord. You have to realize, like, this guy can't be trusted right now, but he's giving guys the opportunity to clean it up and be who he thinks they are.
It's got to be the toughest part for the manager, knowing that this game could come unravel and I'm going to look like an idiot. And people are going to say, the definition of insanity is trying the same thing over and over again and getting the same results. But he knows he has to, it's 162 games, and he's got to have these relievers pitching well, because it's not like you can just dip, people are like, call up somebody else. You can't just call up Muller and say, Kyle Muller, I know you've never done it before and you've walked too many guys in the minor leagues, but get in there and take care of this. You can't do it.
And then you're starting fresh with him too.
Yeah.
He's
not ready. If he thought if they thought he was ready, he'd have
been
here.
Game in the big leagues. A lot of guys put up good numbers in AAA.
Yeah, and he's walked too many down there. So, all right, that's it. We'll be back on Thursday or Friday. We'll be back on Friday, and the Braves will have played a few more games against the Cubs. They got a chance to clinch at least a tie of this 4-game series tonight. But that's not the Braves. The Braves need to win this series against the Cubs for sure before they go on the road again. They face the Blue Jays down in Dunedin. That's going to be weird.
Weird.
Yeah.
It catches me off guard every time I see those games. Like, what is
the
going
Dunedin
on?
complex, you don't even recognize it though, do you? With the rehab, with the renovations they did, because they couldn't have played where that thing used to be. It used to look like a glorified high school field.
Well, that's what I was wondering too, is what the facility's like, for the
totally upgraded it. They didn't do it for this. They were doing it anyway to keep the Blue Jays there, because it doesn't even look the same in the outfield. They took down all the trees and everything out there, and they put in all the training rooms and offices and like that, and the walk around thing. You walk around the whole ballpark on the raised platform.
I'm sure the players are happy not to go through customs and deal with getting into Canada anyway.
Yeah, it's an easy trip for the Braves.
Yeah,
the easiest of all. So that in Tampa. All right. Well, we'll talk again on Friday. I think
that's good.
That was a big game for the Braves last night. They need to keep it going after that doubleheader. Man, if we'd had to come in here and talk about that doubleheader all day, jeez.
I was like, I hope we don't do this on Monday, because I don't have much to.
All right. 7:55 is real. We'll talk later. See y'all.